they frequently have a commercial play that says Spanberger supports boys in girls' bathrooms. So I guess my question for you is, do you support transgender women playing in girls' sports and being in girls' restrooms?
So in Virginia, we previously, until very recently, had a process in place where on an individual, one-by-one basis, schools, parents, principals, coaches were making decisions based on fairness, competitiveness, and safety, where a child might be able or might not be able to play in a particular sport. It was in place for 10 years. Over that time, there were roughly 40 kids who went through the process. Some were denied the ability to play the sport they wanted to play. Some were approved. But it was a process that involved parents, that involved coaches, that involved school districts, and people with knowledge of what is the particular sport, what is the age of the particular child. And I think that was a system that was working. And again, some kids were approved and some kids were denied based on competitiveness, fairness, and safety for all of our kids. Now, what you don't see my opponent talking about is her plan to actually lower costs, to address the issues that I am hearing about everywhere I go, from families, from parents. How do we ensure that we are lowering costs in healthcare, housing, and energy? And how do we ensure that we are contending with the very real issues facing our schools, failing school infrastructure, issues recruiting and retaining teachers, and learning loss? Virginia is last in the country in our math recovery from COVID years. We're last and 51st after every other state and the District of Columbia. And so while I recognize all issues are important to all Virginians, I find it questionable that my opponent isn't talking about the issue that I know is number one, that everywhere I go people are talking about.
So
can we go to Mason just real quickly?
But
Give me our last question.
Just that same one, I just want to make sure that I actually understand. So if a bill landed on your desk and it had to do with restrooms or sports in this situation, I mean, would you support a bill that allowed this if it landed on your desk?
I would support a bill that would put clear provisions in place that provide a lot of local ability for input based on the age of children, based on the type of sport, based on competitiveness, because certainly I absolutely recognize, I'm the mom of 3 daughters in Virginia public schools, and they participate in all activities across the board. I recognize the concern that families and community members might have about the safety of their own kids, about competitiveness, about fairness, and I think that what the process that was in place for 10 years was one that was working. It was one that took individual circumstances and individual communities into account, and I think that is the process that Virginia should continue to utilize.
Just based on individual circumstances.